2 years ago, I met Megan through a dating app. Not one of those hookup apps. This was one of the serious ones where people pretended they actually wanted relationships. I was 33, she was 30. We matched, started talking, and right away, something just clicked. She was sharp, funny, sarcastic in a way that kept me on my toes. We could go back and forth for hours without running out of things to say. And she was stunning. Like, Turnheadson Thestreet kind of stunning. Now, I'm not saying I look like a bridge troll or anything. I'd like to think I'm a decent-looking guy, average height, stay in shape, nothing special but not a total lost cause. But Megan? She was in a different league. I told myself early on not to get too attached. Girls like her? They always had options. Still, when I asked her out, she said yes. No hesitation, no games. And on our first date, she was even better in person, warm, easy to talk to, genuinely interested in what I had to say. Somewhere in the back of my head, I still thought, this won't last. Not because I didn't want it to, but because I'd dated girls like her before. The kind who would entertain the idea of being with a guy like me for a while, until someone better came along. But Megan never acted like she was looking for something better. She made me feel like I was the best option. We made it official after a few weeks, and for a while, things were great. Then, the little things started. Guys hitting on her in public, blatantly, right in front of me. DMs from random dudes on social media. At first, she'd laugh about it, show me the messages, roll her eyes at how pathetic they were. It never bothered me, exactly. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Lock her in the house. She was gorgeous. Of course men would try. And she always made it clear she wasn't interested. But then, one night, she said something that stuck with me. We were up late, talking about stupid things, and somehow the topic of hall passes came up. You know, the hypothetical one celebrity you'd be allowed to sleep with if given the chance. She thought about it for a second, then said, Justin Timberlake, I guess. Solid choice, I said. She smirked, stretching out on the couch. Honestly, though, I don't think many celebrities would say no to me. I laughed, because what else was I supposed to do? But the way she said it, it wasn't just confidence. It was certainty, like she genuinely believed it. And maybe she was right. But hearing her say it out loud, so casually, it rubbed me the wrong way. I let it go. But that sentence stuck in my head for weeks. Then, things started to change. It was subtle at first. She'd stay late at work more often. Last-minute meetings, client dinners, projects that suddenly needed her full attention. I didn't think much of it. Megan worked in marketing, and her job had always been busy. But then, she started going out with friends more. And not in the way she used to. Before, she'd invite me. Even if it was just a girls' night, she'd at least tell me where she was going, who she was with. Now, it was vague. Just out. Just drinks. Just catching up. And every time I asked, she got more defensive. Why are you acting weird about this? She snapped one night when I asked why she came home at 2 a.m. It's not a big deal. I was with Sarah and Jess. You can literally ask them. I didn't. Because I wanted to believe her. But something in my gut told me I was being played. Then, one night, my best friend Luke called me out of nowhere. Hey man, listen. I wasn't sure if I should tell you this, but I just saw Megan at a bar. I frowned. Okay. She goes out sometimes. Yeah. But she wasn't with her usual friends. Luke hesitated. She was with some guy? They looked close. My stomach dropped. You sure it was her? My voice sounded distant, like it wasn't even mine. Dude, I know what your girlfriend looks like. I swallowed hard. Did you see them? No, Luke cut in. I left before I could see anything else. But it didn't look innocent, man. I sat there for a long time after we hung up, just staring at my phone. I wanted to believe there was some logical explanation. That it was just a friend, a coworker, something. But I already knew the truth. I just didn't want to admit it yet. So I decided to find out for sure. And that's how I ended up hiring a private investigator. I never thought I'd be that guy. The one who couldn't just take his girlfriend's word for it. The one who had to hire some stranger to spy on her. But I wasn't about to confront her with nothing. If I was wrong, I'd be the asshole who didn't trust her. If I was right, then everything I thought I had was already gone. The investigator's name was Mark. Older guy, probably late 50s, with this world-weary expression that told me he'd seen way too much. You sure about this? He asked after I told him everything. I hesitated. No, I wasn't sure. Because once I knew the truth, there'd be no one doing it. But I couldn't keep living in this uncertainty. So I nodded. Yeah, I'm sure. Mark exhaled, leaning back in his chair. All right. Give me 10 days. 10 days. It felt like an eternity. And in those 10 days, Megan kept up the act. She smiled. She kissed me goodbye in the mornings. She came home late with barely believable excuses. And every time, I told myself, this is it. This is when Mark finds something. But the waiting? That was the worst part. Because deep down, I already knew. I just needed to see it with my own eyes. And when the 10 days were up, Mark called me. And everything changed. Mark didn't say much over the phone. Got what you were looking for, he said. Come by the office. That was it. No details. No hesitation. Just a flat, emotionless confirmation that my worst fear was real. I sat there, gripping my phone, staring at nothing. Even though I had spent the last 10 days preparing for this moment, I wasn't ready. But I went. Mark's office was small and cluttered, the kind of place that smelled like stale coffee and paper. He didn't waste time, just slid a manila envelope across the desk. Take a look. My hands felt weirdly numb as I opened it. Inside were photos. Megan, walking into an apartment building. Alone. Then, 2 hours later, leaving with some guy. There were 3 different sets, 3 different days. Different outfits, same pattern. And then, the final picture. Megan in a car, parked outside the building. Her lips on his neck. I felt like I was going to be sick. Mark cleared his throat. His name's Trevor. Works in finance, lives in that building. No idea how long this has been going on, but, well, you've got your answer. I swallowed hard. My throat felt dry. I expected to feel angry, or heartbroken, or something, but all I felt was hollow. I closed the envelope. Thanks. Mark gave me a look, like he'd seen this reaction 100 times before. What are you gonna do? I had no idea. That night, I sat in our apartment, staring at the photos, waiting for Megan to come home. I wasn't even sure how I wanted this to go. Should I yell? Should I pretend I don't know just to see how long she keeps lying to me? I didn't get the chance to decide. At around 10 p.m., the door unlocked. Megan walked in, heels clicking against the floor, hair perfectly styled like she had just come from some fancy dinner. She froze when she saw me sitting on the couch. Hey, she said, forcing a smile. You're up late. I didn't say anything. Just nodded toward the coffee table. The envelope. Her eyes flicked to it. And for the first time in months, I saw it, real fear. She hesitated, then slowly walked over and picked it up. She opened it, flipped to the photos, expression unreadable. Then, finally, she sighed. Jesus, Alex. She dropped the pictures onto the table like they were inconvenient. You really hired a private investigator? That was her reaction. Not guilt. Not denial. Just annoyance. I felt my stomach tighten. That's all you have to say? She rolled her eyes. What do you want me to say? You already know. A bitter laugh escaped me. Yeah, I do. Megan sighed dramatically, tossing her purse onto the couch. Look, I'm not gonna sit here and beg for forgiveness. It's not like I don't care, but it's not like we were some perfect fairy tale couple either. I clenched my jaw. We weren't perfect, but I wasn't cheating. She shrugged. Shrugged. It wasn't serious, Alex. It was just fun. No emotions. Nothing deep. You're acting like I killed someone. I stared at her, stunned. You really don't feel bad, do you? My voice was quieter now, almost like I was trying to convince myself of how heartless she really was. Megan exhaled through her nose, crossing her arms. I mean, yeah, it sucks that you found out. But let's be real. What did you expect? A girl like me? I get attention all the time. Did you really think you were the only one? I felt something in my chest snap. For so long, I had ignored the warning signs. The way she talked about herself, the way she treated me like I was lucky to be with her. I had made so many excuses. But now, sitting here, listening to her say it out loud, I finally saw her for what she really was. I stood up. I'm done, Megan. She blinked. Wait, what? I'm done, I repeated. I'm not going to sit here and let you act like this is normal. Like I should just accept that I was never enough for you. She let out a sharp laugh. Oh, come on. You're seriously ending this over one mistake. I shook my head. It's not one mistake. It's who you are. And I don't want any part of it anymore. She scoffed. And what? You think you're going to find someone better than me? Alex, let's be honest here. You were lucky I even gave you a chance. That was it. That was the moment I felt nothing for her. No anger. No sadness. Just a cold, detached certainty. I grabbed my jacket. You can keep the apartment, I said, heading for the door. I'll send someone for my stuff. Megan didn't move. She just stood there, staring at me like she couldn't believe I was actually leaving. And for the first time ever, I realized something. She never expected me to. She had assumed I would stay, that I would be too afraid to walk away from her. But she was wrong. I walked out the door. And I never looked back. At least, not until a few months later, when life decided to prove her wrong in the best way possible. A few months passed, and Megan became nothing more than a distant memory. I moved into a new apartment, nothing fancy, just a quiet place where I could finally breathe. At first, it felt empty, like something was missing. But as time went on, I realized that something wasn't Megan. It was just the habit of her. I was rebuilding. Slowly. No dating apps, no rebounds, just me figuring out how to enjoy my own company again. And then, out of nowhere, Luke hit me up about our high school reunion. Dude, you have to come, he said. 15 years. Gotta see who got fat, who got rich, and who's still stuck in 2009. I hesitated. I don't know, man. Doesn't feel like my scene. Luke scoffed. Okay, first of all, it's open bar. Second, what if your high school crush shows up and is single? Could be your redemption arc. I laughed. Yeah, sure. Because that's how life works. But in the end, I went. Not because I expected some kind of romantic movie moment, just because it sounded better than spending another night at home. And that's where I saw Rachel Carter. Back in high school, Rachel had been that girl. The one everyone liked, but not in a typical popular mean girl way. She was effortlessly cool. Always had a camera in her hands. Always laughing at something. We were friendly, but not close. She was in with the artsy crowd, and I was just a guy. But now, she was a model. A real, successful, seen in magazines kind of model. And somehow, by some miracle, she was looking at me. I was mid-conversation with a group of old classmates when her best friend, Lily, strolled up to me with a knowing smile. Hey, Alex, she said, sipping her drink. Rachel wants to talk to you. I blinked. Rachel Carter? Lily smirked. Yep. I glanced across the room, and there she was, watching me. Rachel. Fucking. Carter. She gave me this little smile, like she knew exactly what was going through my head. I turned back to Lily. Why? Lily rolled her eyes. Oh my God, you're dense. Just go talk to her. So I did. As I walked up, Rachel grinned. Took you long enough. I chuckled. Sorry, I was too busy questioning reality. She laughed. Understandable. But yeah, it's really me. I shook my head. No way. You're some kind of AI-generated deepfake. She snorted. Right, because obviously, I have nothing better to do than trick Alex from sophomore English class into talking to me. I laughed, shaking my head. She was exactly the same. We started talking. Just catching up at first, where life had taken us, what we were doing now. But it didn't feel like small talk. It felt natural. Then, somewhere between my second and third drink, she said it. You know, I had a huge crush on you back in high school. I nearly choked. What? Rachel smirked. Yeah, but you were dating someone else, so I just let it go. I stared at her, my brain short-circuiting. Rachel Carter had a crush on me? I finally said. This isn't some elaborate prank, right? She laughed. No prank. Just a missed opportunity. I swallowed. Well, maybe not missed. Her smile softened. Yeah, maybe not. We exchanged numbers that night. And then numbers turned into texts. Texts turned into late-night calls. Late-night calls turned into video chats. And then, one day, Rachel said, I have a few weeks off before my next shoot. You want to come to LA? I booked the ticket that night. And when I saw her again, really saw her, I realized something. Megan had been right about one thing. I was never going to find someone like her again. Because I found someone so much better. Flying to LA felt surreal. I hadn't been on a plane in years, and now here I was, heading across the country to see Rachel Carter. If I told my high school self this would happen, he would have laughed in my face. The moment I stepped off the plane, my phone buzzed. Rachel, just parked. Let me know when you're at the curb. I inhaled sharply, trying to shake off the nerves. This wasn't some random trip. This was different. I wasn't just visiting a friend. I was flying out to see someone who had once been a fantasy, and now she was real. I spotted her car before I saw her. A sleek black SUV, windows down, music playing. And then, there she was, leaning against the driver's side door, oversized sunglasses perched on her nose, looking effortlessly cool, like she had just stepped out of a photo shoot. When she saw me, she grinned and pushed her sunglasses up into her hair. Well, she teased. Look who made it. I laughed, tossing my bag into the back seat. I almost turned around mid-flight. Thought maybe I was being catfished. She smirked. If this was a catfish, you'd be getting picked up by a 50-year-old dude named Greg. I chuckled, sliding into the passenger seat. Well, that's comforting. The drive to her place was easy, comfortable. No awkward silences, no weird pressure. Just Rachel, effortlessly cool, making me feel like I had been in her world this whole time. Her apartment was insane. It wasn't just a place to sleep. It was one of those modern, high-rise apartments with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. You live here alone? I asked, setting my bag down. She nodded, kicking off her shoes. Yeah. Well, me and my plants. She gestured to a few leafy greens in the corner. They don't pay rent, though. Freeloading bastards. I laughed, shaking my head. Guess I better impress them. Rachel smirked. They have high standards. We spent the next few days exploring the city, laughing, just being together. One afternoon, she took me to one of her photo shoots. I sat off to the side, watching her work, watching her become someone else in front of the camera. It was mesmerizing. At one point, between shots, she caught my eye and winked. And just like that, I knew. I was falling for her. One night, we were sitting on her balcony, drinks in hand, the city lights stretching out beneath us. Can I ask you something? She said, voice quieter than usual. I turned to her. Anything. She hesitated. Do you ever think about her? She didn't have to say Megan's name. I knew who she meant. I thought about it for a second. Not in the way I used to, I admitted. I used to replay everything in my head, wondering where it went wrong. But now? She feels like a past life. Like someone I used to know. Rachel nodded, tracing the rim of her glass. Good. I smirked. Why? You worried I'd run back to her? She rolled her eyes. Not a chance. She'd probably have a meltdown if she saw us together. That made me laugh. Yeah, she always did think she was my peak. Rachel raised an eyebrow. And now? I looked at her, the way the city lights reflected in her eyes, the way she was watching me, waiting for an answer. And for the first time in a long time, I knew exactly what to say. I think I'm just getting started. She smiled. And then, just as we were about to call it a night, my phone buzzed. A notification. I glanced at the screen, expecting a text from Luke or some spam email. But no, it was from Megan. A message I never expected. And I had no idea what she was about to say. Megan. I just stared at my phone, her name glowing on the screen like some kind of bad omen. For a second, I considered ignoring it, blocking her, pretending I never saw it. But curiosity won. Against my better judgment, I tapped the notification. Megan. Hey. Just that. Nothing else. I locked my phone, exhaled, tried to shake it off. Rachel noticed. You good? I forced a smile. Yeah. Just someone I didn't expect to hear from. She gave me a look, like she already knew. Megan? I nodded. Rachel didn't say anything at first. Just sipped her drink, looking out over the city. Then, finally, you gonna answer? I thought about it. Then, I shook my head. Nah, not worth it. Rachel smirked, clinking her glass against mine. Good answer. I put my phone down, determined to let it go. But then, Megan kept messaging. The next day. Megan, I just want to talk. The day after that. Megan, please. I messed up. And finally, 3 nights later, while Rachel was asleep beside me, my phone rang. An unknown number. I shouldn't have answered. I should have ignored it. But I didn't. I slid out of bed, stepped onto the balcony, and pressed the phone to my ear. Hello. There was a pause. Then, a quiet, familiar voice. Alex. I closed my eyes. Megan. She exhaled sharply, like she had been holding her breath. I wasn't sure if you'd pick up. Neither was I. She let out a sad little laugh. Fair enough. Silence stretched between us. The kind that used to feel comfortable. Now, it just felt empty. Finally, she spoke again. I screwed up. I said nothing. Just let her talk. I thought I had everything figured out, she continued. I don't know. I thought Trevor was different. But he wasn't. I leaned against the railing, staring out at the LA skyline. He cheated on you, didn't he? A sharp inhale. Then, a soft, bitter laugh. Yeah, I didn't feel bad for her. Not even a little. Megan sighed. I wanted you to know that I get it now. How it feels to be discarded. To be treated like you were just temporary. I stayed quiet. I was awful to you, she admitted. And you didn't deserve it. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I needed to say it. Another pause. Then, softer. Are you happy? I thought about Rachel. About her laugh, her ridiculous planned obsession, the way she made me feel like I was actually worth something. I smiled. Yeah, I am. Megan inhaled sharply. I could almost picture her closing her eyes, forcing back whatever she was feeling. Good, she whispered. That's good. A beat of silence. Then, goodbye, Alex. And for the first time, I believed she actually meant it. I hung up, blocked her number. And that was it. I went back inside, climbed into bed next to Rachel, and pulled her close. She stirred slightly, mumbling half asleep. Everything okay? I kissed the top of her head. Yeah, everything's perfect. Because for the first time in a long, long time, I wasn't looking back.